Hey, welcome back to another episode of the She's Making an Impact podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ngom. I am super pumped to dive into all things productivity today. Before we get into that, just want to say thank you if you've taken the time to leave a review of the show. That's what helps us reach more people and make a bigger impact. So if you have not yet left a review, please go do that. And then if you take a screenshot of it before you hit submit, email our team, clientcare@rachelngom.com. I will send you some coffee on me. And thank you for sharing the show. So if you have a friend that's an entrepreneur and you're like, you need to listen to the show, share this with them, please. Especially this one, if you know they need help with productivity. There's a lot of golden nuggets that they are going to find inside of this episode. So today I am interviewing Miss Holly Haynes. Holly helps female entrepreneurs take back control of their time with proven productivity techniques, systems, and structure to create a strategy that scales long term. She's an industry expert, a host of the Crush the Rush podcast, featured Thrive author with a 20-year business consulting background with Fortune 500 companies. Holly runs her strategic coaching business and the Crush the Rush planner company while raising her twin daughters with her husband, in addition to working full-time for a nonprofit in Columbus, Ohio. She's like superwoman. So she's going to share with us all of her productivity hacks to getting it all done. So let's dive in. Hey, Holly, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited that we get to chat. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Holly Haynes. I am in Columbus, Ohio. I have twins who are 7, a stepdaughter who is in college, and I work full-time. And I run a very full-time business. So my mission and passion is to teach other women entrepreneurs how to do that on a schedule that works for you and them. So we can sort of like ditch the overwhelm. It's a word that I don't like to use, and burnout, and really just, everyone says like design that dream life, which I think is probably like very cliche, but like there's a better way to get through the day than to just be hustling all the time and to be able to do some of the things that you're really passionate about.
Yeah, let's start with, you said you don't like the word overwhelm. And I think that's a word that a lot of entrepreneurs are using as they grow their business, because you have a lot on your plate, right? Like, especially as you grow and you're working full time and you have twins, like you have a lot that you could feel overwhelmed about. Why don't you like that word?
Well, one, I think it's like 100% overused, right? So everyone's like, how are you doing? You're like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. Or you get the word busy quite a bit, or like, you're teaching, well, you need to niche down, or you need to whatever. And then you hear, oh, well, I'm targeting busy, working, overwhelmed moms. Well, I mean, it's a word that I think we need to dig a little deeper into. And so I'm not saying that I don't use the word overwhelm, but I try really hard to figure out like, well, why am I saying that? There's something that's causing that. So I try to take it a step deeper. Like, is it because I only slept 4 hours last night? Is it because we have too many things on our plate? Is it because the girls have like 5 cheerleading practices and I've got 12 Zoom meetings and it's too much? Like, there is a reason that's causing the symptom of overwhelm. And so I try really hard to sort of like flip the script and say, okay, if you're feeling overwhelmed, let's really like dig into why it's happening so that you can adjust it and sort of get out of that cycle.
Yes. I always tell my students, like, overwhelm is a choice. Like, we can choose to feel overwhelmed, or we can choose to say, wow, like what a blessing of opportunity I have right in front of me right now. Like, this is awesome. Right. Yeah. So it's a choice. Very cool. So you have a lot on your plate, working full time, doing a business, and children obviously add like a whole new layer, especially at 7. That's when they have like more activities.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh, all the other things. So how are you running your business with the schedule that you have? Like, how do you make that work?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple things that I do. I'm super organized. And I think when I say that, people are like, oh, well, everyone says that. But it's true.
It's true. Yes, I am.
I tried really hard to do it in a way where like anyone can learn from it. So as an example, the very first thing that I do is I have very set business hours. And again, this is something that you hear over and over again, but most people don't do it. So for me, my business hours are Monday through Friday, 6 to 7:30 every single morning. I have a 2-hour, what I call creative session on Saturday mornings before my kids are up. It's typically 6 to 8. And then I have like an hour and a half planning session on Sunday. It's, 8+ hours. There are days when I'm like fitting in a podcast interview over lunch, or maybe I'm checking my email or whatever. Like it's not perfect, but for the most part, it's, 8 to 10 hours of when I am 100% focused on my business and nothing else. Then, you layer in like the work meetings and the activities and all of that. But I have found that the consistency of sticking to a pretty strict schedule is what helps me create the momentum to just keep going, even if I don't get it done, right? So like my second tip is I pick theme days. So as an example, Monday is always like my planning day. Like I try not to put any meetings on my calendars on Mondays. I also write content on Mondays. Tuesdays are typically when I will write podcasts. So I know when I get up, like, hey, if you only have an hour to work on your business today, it's going to be in this category. So it helps me stay organized. I can organize my meetings to be about certain things. So I'm not switching between like finances and writing Instagram posts and, oh, I need to record this podcast. Like it's very, very focused. So I start with hours, and then I sort of layer in themes so that I can stay on track. And then, I try really hard to just be focused at what I'm doing. So it's one thing at a time. So if I'm in like my corporate job, like I'm not going to be checking Instagram when I'm presenting to my CEO. Like you're not going to do that. So just like when I'm watching my business or I'm working on my business, I'm not like checking all the other things.
Yep.
Those are probably two of my, like, I would say most impactful tips is, really creating those hours and sticking to it. And again, most people probably won't, or it'll last for like a day. And then you're like, oh, I got to do this. I can't do this. And then just really thinking about organizing your week into themes. And you could do it from a business perspective or a personal perspective.
Yeah. So you said Monday is planning and content. Tuesday you said is podcast. I want to like get your whole theme schedule.
Yeah.
So like we can get people's like wheels just spinning on the themes they can create for themselves for the week. So Tuesday is podcast. What do we do on Wednesday?
Yeah. So Monday, I like to do CEO day, and you can put whatever you want in there, but the whole goal is that you don't have a ton of meetings, so that on Sunday night, you're not like stressing out about, oh my gosh, I have this big presentation tomorrow, and now I have to spend Sunday afternoon instead of playing with my kids. I got to write this presentation. So I try to give Monday like a buffer.
Yeah.
Tuesday is, I just switched them. So I might have like flipped Tuesday and Wednesday, but Tuesday is typically podcast day. So I will write podcasts, talk on podcasts, like plan for podcasts, whatever that is. If I don't get my content done on Monday, I will also do that on Tuesday as well. So Tuesday is kind of like a creative day. Wednesday is typically when I do some sort of like, I call it client care. So I'm like following up with my clients. I'm making sure, like, if I have somebody speaking in one of my groups, that I'm like sending a thank you, and I'm just like sort of in it behind the scenes, working through, making sure that, they feel that I'm thankful for people that have helped me, and just making sure that my clients are getting exactly what they need. Thursdays, I tend to leave for finance. So I will go behind the scenes, check my finances. That doesn't take all day, right? That maybe should take you 15 minutes. So Thursdays are kind of nice because I have like a little bit of open time. So a lot of times on Thursdays, that's when I'll like pour back into myself. Like I'll meet with my coach, or like dig into the mastermind community that I'm in, and just try to regroup, because you've already made it 4 days through the week, right? Like you kind of need a little reset. And then Fridays is when I do all of my one-on-one client calls. So I group them all together on one day. Fridays are typically less stressful in my 9 to 5. So I have a little bit more flexibility. And then on Fridays, I also just take some time to plan the week ahead. So just knowing what's coming again, so that on Sunday night, you're not like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And then Saturdays, I mentioned I have my creative session. So I feel like a lot of times as a business owner, you have like pockets of time, right? Like, it's like, okay, I'm going to do 20 minutes here, 30 minutes here, but there are some things where you need more than 20 minutes. And so if I'm like creating a launch plan or a lead page or writing something that takes more than a half hour, I will do it on Saturday morning before my kids are up. And then I'll take the rest of the day off. So in a nutshell, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. It's so structured. And like, I love that. I love that structure. I try to like keep the same routine every day. So like every morning we go for a walk, and it's like, that's when a lot of times I create audio stuff for my students, and they know, like, I'm on my walk. This is like my creative juices flowing. And it's like, it happens every day. Unless I'm like in bed sick, which rarely happens because I try to take care of myself. Speaking of which, how do you fit self-care into your schedule? Because you're doing like a lot of other things. So where's Holly time?
Yeah. So it's typically in the mornings. I won't say that I'm a morning person, but mornings work for just like the phase of life that we're in. So I usually will get up between 5 and 5:30, depending on the day. So I have a good hour to hour and a half before I start my business hours. So for me, that looks like working out. Usually I'm on like my Peloton or some sort of like weights.
Have you done the Ed Sheeran ride?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I saw you talk about that, and I was like, I'm obsessed with Ed Sheeran, and when I am obsessed with Peloton, and when they put it together, I told my husband, I was like,
happy day.
It's like they're talking to me, and they created this for me. I've done it twice
for me. Yeah. I did the Ed Sheeran yoga right before we jumped on, so I was like, this is
it's
happy,
so good.
Rachel.
Yeah. Even yesterday when I did it, my husband was like, you're in such a good mood today. And I was like, yeah, it was a good Ed Sheeran morning.
Good morning. I love that.
Yeah. So I typically will do a workout, and I'll journal, read, whatever sort of happens in that time. I do like try to keep it to an hour, right? So I'm not getting up at 3 a.m, but I'm pretty efficient between like 5 and 6, and then 6 to 7:30 is when my business hours.
What time do you go to bed to wake up at 5?
Between 9:30 and 10. I very rarely am up past 10 o'clock. And it's like a struggle if I am.
I'm very rarely up past 9. Like I'm talking to my husband's in West Africa right now studying up our businesses, and I'm talking on the phone, and it's like 8:30. For him, it's 12:30 because he's 4 hours ahead. He could stay up all night. Like, we're so different that way. And I'm like, it's my bedtime. Like, I gotta go. It's almost 9 o'clock. I need to be in bed.
Yeah. I would say the other thing too is like my days are pretty packed. Like I try not to have them be that way, but when you are doing a lot, it just sort of is a side effect. So I try really hard to not work like in the evening. So I will try super hard to turn my phone off, like, and put it upstairs at like 7 o'clock, which I never used to do, but like you need the white space to like be able to think and like go to sleep on time and all of that. And so that's been a really big sort of like just me time. And then I try really hard on the weekends to at least take 24 full hours, sometimes 48, off social media. So it's like part of my business plan. I don't want to be on Instagram all weekend. So I just share it. I'm like, hey, it's Friday. I'm like checking out. I'll see you guys on Sunday. And then I show up back on Sunday.
I love that. So what I've seen a lot of times with people is when they have to be, they're very productive. Like when you're working full time and have the side hustle, but then like, I know one of your goals is to quit your job so you can do this full time. Do you think you'll be less productive because you all of a sudden have a lot more time available? Or do you think you'll be like super structured? What do you think will happen?
You know, that's interesting. I think my ultimate goal, and I've said this on my podcast, is to work 3 days a week. So like whatever that looks like, whether it's like, I don't even know, we haven't gotten there yet, but like 3 days. So like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like how do you do that? I am honestly a pretty like structured person. So I feel like my schedule will look different because like, hopefully I'm going to more like Ed Sheeran yoga classes in the middle of the day instead of working. So my ultimate goal is that my work schedule stays the same. Like it stays with that, period that I have. Maybe I'm getting up at 6 instead of 5. I don't know. But I'm fitting in more things that I like really want to do.
Yeah. Very cool. What are some of like tools or hacks that you have? Do you use any like productivity tools, a planner, pen and paper, digital? Do you have anything that like helps you really stay organized and on top of things?
Yeah, I'm kind of a mix. So I would say the first thing, like we have a family Google Calendar, which I love. I color code it. So if you're just like, I don't know where to start, this is a great way to start because my business is like green. Our family stuff is like, I think it's like pink or red right now. My work stuff is blue. So I can very quickly look at our calendar and say like, wow, work is like really crazy right now. Like I've got to incorporate some family stuff or my family's going to like divorce me by Friday. Like I need to get like a little, I hate the word balance, but like I need to prioritize a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So I start with that. I also created a planner, which is crazy in itself because I actually did it like in the pandemic, which when I think back, I'm like, wow, that was a little risky, but I love it. And my clients love it too, because it incorporates all of the things that I talk about. So it's like setting aside time to take care of yourself. I recommend picking like 3 main focuses for the day. So one of my other like tools is called the cake method. And it's basically like when you are thinking about your day, you're thinking about it as a 3-layer cake. Mm-hmm. So if the cake is too big, like 5 or 6 layers, it's going to fall over. You're going to be too tired and you're just going to feel like crap because you ate too much sugar. If it's too small, like it's not really that satisfying because you're not getting that much done. So I always say, like, if you're struggling where to start, think about cake, think about 3 things you absolutely have to get done. And it's a mix, right? Like it's a mix of personal and business and whatever your things are, because you don't get an extra 24 hours just for one category. And then everything else is sprinkles. So we call all the bonuses sprinkles, and you can just keep a list and then incorporate them. So Google Calendar, the planner, and then I do use sort of behind the scenes, like Trello is what we manage projects in.
Trello. Yeah.
Yeah, I keep trying like ClickUp and Asana and all the other things. I keep coming back to Trello, just because I think it's how my brain works. Yeah. And then we've been getting into Zaps. I don't know even know how you say it.
We use Zapier
where we're trying to like just do more with less, right? So that's actually saved us quite a bit. And then obviously just like different business systems like Kajabi and things like that, where we're like building things behind the scenes that just save time on the back end, because it's like one system that sort of works together. But I mean, I would say my base is probably my like paper planner with my 3 things, and I'm just ridiculously consistent.
I think that's like a superpower, because I think a lot of times people think it has to be like all or nothing.
Yeah.
Like either I'm going to work out or I'm not going to work out. But what if you just did like 10 minutes,
Right.
and you did that every day? Like, wouldn't that be better than an hour, maybe once a week?
Right. One of my favorite quotes is consistency trumps talent every single time.
Yeah.
And it's because people, everyone starts strong at the beginning, and then 2 or 3 days in, like they start to wane off, and then like you're down to the 1%. So I'm like, if you want to achieve something, be consistent.
Yep. I think that's one of my superpowers too. It's just like,
yeah.
The small, like you've read The Compound Effect, yeah, by Darren Hardy. Like the small, seemingly insignificant things that we don't even think about, like they add up over time. So it's like, did you drink soda or did you drink water? Did you do like your 15 minutes of showing up for your business, or an hour? Like I have my students do a power hour. Or did you just say like, oh, I'm too busy? But like, we all have that 15 minutes where you can like check in, or that hour, even if you have a full-time job and kids, like you're showing how you can really make it happen, which is amazing. And I love this. What are some of the big time wasters that you see people do?
Oh gosh. So I call it the 3 S's: scrolling, snacking, and snoozing. Because that's typically what happens. And I would say that happens for me too, right? So the first thing that happens is scrolling for me, because I'm like, oh, I'm working so hard, I just need a break. And then like 25 minutes later, it's like, what happened to that time? So snoozing is typically a sign of like stress or anxiety because you're hitting snooze. It's hard for you to get out of bed. Usually because you're overwhelmed, but we're not going to say that. We're going to say because something is building up to why you're feeling that way.
Yep.
And then snacking is just a bad habit where you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to have this snack and then I'll get back to work. Or like when I get really stressed, I like find myself like standing in front of the pantry, like, oh, well, I'll just have this, treat now and then I'll go work later. So those are signs that I would say that sort of lead to maybe you're not spending your time where you should. I would say a couple of hacks to like get past it is I'm like a huge timer fan, and it sounds super simple, but I'm just like, okay, if I don't want to do something, I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes and I'm just going to do as much as I can and then be done. And then I'll go get a snack. Like that's my reward. So I try to do that quite a bit. And then I, again, try to like just put boundaries on it. So it's like, Holly, if you can like really stick to your schedule Monday through Friday, then you don't have to work on Saturday or Sunday. Like so it's just for me, like balancing like those little rewards for just staying focused.
Yeah. So one of your reward is not working on Saturday. Do you have anything else that you do?
I like to shop. So typically like after a like launch or something, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go like to I know people don't really go to malls anymore, but I will like sit in front of my TV and turn on Real Housewives and like scroll. My favorite store is called Evereve, and like put together outfits. It's just like mindless. I'm also a big like spa person. So I like facials or massages.
Yes.
I bought myself flowers a couple of times, like when I had like big projects like finish. I just love flowers and things like that around. So
I love that.
Those are a few. Yeah.
Yeah. I do Fun Friday where it's like usually the spa, but I might do that today.
Yeah.
My nails need to get done.
Yeah. No, it's just like something to look forward to. And it's hard, right? When you have a full-time job and you have a business to like fit in little things like that. So a lot of times for me, it's like, okay, 20 minutes, like go watch a show by yourself, or like, I love, like Fixer Upper and like Discovery Plus. And so I'll just like watch a Fixer Upper like by myself.
I love that. What's one of the best books that you've read related to productivity? I would love, and then just a general one.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm actually looking at my books. I actually just got a copy of Tanya Dalton's new book. So she wrote The Joy of Missing Out, which I loved. Because it's basically like the habit of saying no. So it's like, no, not right now. But she just wrote a new book called On Purpose. And it's all about, like, she talks about living like that dream life, but like the dream life really being like everyday life, right? So like, what's your perfect everyday schedule? Like, of course I would love to work on my laptop on the beach where like my kids are like quietly playing in the sand, but like, that's not really going to happen every day. So like, if you could have a dream schedule every day, like what would it be? And like, how do you make that happen now? So those would be my business ones. I don't really read a ton for fun, which sounds really bad.
I have such a hard time reading for fun now. I used to until I became an entrepreneur, and now I'm like, I have a hard time.
I love Emily Griffin. She's like, so typically she writes like, I don't know, like smutty like beach novels every summer. So like when we go to the beach, I will like go on Amazon and be like, okay, what book did she write this summer? And I'll buy it and I'll, read it in a couple days. But I'm really bad about reading for fun.
I know. I want to get better at that. Right now, my reading for fun is reading nutrition books. So I'm reading.
I love that though. You have to tell. So my favorite nutrition book is actually, I think her first name is Cassie, but she runs the website Fed and Fit. But her books are amazing because it's called like Cook Once, Eat All Week. So basically she gives you like the layout of all the things to prep, and it makes like 4 or 5 like family dinners for the week. It's like genius the way that it's laid out. And she does like paleo and all the different things you need to figure out. But it's super easy. I love her stuff.
I like it. What does it mean to you to make an impact?
To make an impact. I think just in general, my mission is to just really help female entrepreneurs know that like, you don't have to give up your dreams because you're busy. And I think so often we get this great idea of like, well, we're going to start a business, and we're so lucky now that it's so easy to start, right? Like 10 years ago, like half these tools didn't even exist. Like you could start a business in 2 hours. Yeah. But then like, you get into like, oh, I have to, I need a contract and I have to create all this social media, and it starts to get overwhelming, and most people quit. And they have amazing ideas. And so I think, to make an impact, I just want to inspire people that like you don't have to quit. You can make an impact with a little bit of time each week. So that's what I try to teach.
Yeah. Where can we connect with you?
Yeah. So my home base, I would say, is probably Instagram. It's Holly_Marie_Haynes. I also have a podcast called Crush the Rush, where I talk a lot about these tips and have different guests. And then my website's hollymariehaynes.com.
Awesome. Holly, you are a powerhouse. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.